Hi, this is Yvonne for Central Kentucky Television, and it's Confederate History Month observance here. And I have with me James Spraggins. How you doing, James?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing great. And James is the occupant of Myrtledene.
That's right.
Yes, a local bed and breakfast, but it has a great historical background here in the community of Marion County. You want to tell us a little bit about Myrtledene?
Myrtledene, yes. Myrtledene was built in 1833, and in fact it was built in Washington County because Marion County didn't get carved out of Washington County until the year after.
So it didn't even exist yet?
It didn't even, that's exactly right. That's right. So, and in fact I had a guest who stayed, I may have told you this before, I had a guest who stayed several years ago who was doing some genealogy over in Washington County, and she found the original deed for me. And originally it was, it's about 3 acres now, and it was originally 125 acres bought for $125. So $1 an acre. And it came from the estate of William Paris, who operated a tavern on Main Street, which I can remember when the house was still there. And 68 is a very, very old road. And the Marquis de Lafayette stayed there. Possibly Henry Clay, I don't remember, but it was a place where a lot of notable folks stayed.
Now, 125 acres, that would have gone quite a ways.
It did. I don't know exactly. I don't know how far into town, the town direction it went, but I think it went all the way back to the Loretto Road, and then most of it was out St. Rose Road, I think. But the builder of it was Benedict Spalding, who kind of gets credit as one of the founders of Lebanon, and he donated the land for St. Augustine Church and for a lot of the downtown. That's my understanding. And of course Lebanon was pretty well settled by 1833, but he built Myrtledene for his third wife. Yeah, that's right.
I see.
Yeah, and so he was up in years, I guess, by that time. He was a local merchant, businessman, and it was a state representative.
Okay, now the original house, is all of the house that's standing now the original house?
Yes, but let me explain. When they first built it, it only went one room back. So you go in the front door, and then the doors that you see leading into the back, those are exterior doors.
Okay.
Of course, they had no children, so I expect they only needed to build so much to go on and move in. But in the back of the house, which is all enclosed, where the kitchen and some bedrooms are and sitting room, that was a 2-story porch. But also the house used to be even bigger, and I've got some photos that'll show this, and I've seen it, so the outline on some old maps. On the left side there was a little 1-story room. They called it the conservatory. Lots of windows, and they had a piano in there. And then on the right side was a wing that went pretty far back, so the house from a bird's eye view looked like an L, and it had like 8 or 9 bedrooms over there. Now, the house is owned by my cousin Lillian Campbell Brewer. Her grandfather bought it in like 1908, something like that. It had been unoccupied and was in disrepair when he bought it, and it took them a full year before they could move into it. And it was at that time that wing was knocked off. He had to decide, well, what am I going to save? What am I going to keep,
Wow.
Yeah.
So they have been owners for quite a few years.
Almost 110 years,
yes,
that's
wow.
right.
That's great. That's wonderful. I know that there is a story about Myrtledene during the Confederate War about the horse going up the stairs.
That's right. And this is a story I've heard all my life.
Yeah. And there was actually a play based upon that point.
Hoofprints on the Stairs. Terry Ward wrote the original script, and it was set to music. And the first 2 or 3 productions took place in the field behind the house until it got bigger and they didn't need me anymore. So then they moved it to Center Square. But yes, during the Civil War, of course, Lebanon was a Union town. 20,000 Union troops were trained here. There was Camp Crittenden. We had one of the largest colored regiment training camps. I think that was the one that was Camp Crittenden.
It is.
That's right. And the railroad came here. General George H. Thomas was one of the commanders here at one time. And so it was a fairly important Union spot. and there were a lot of Unionists in the town. You could safely say Lebanon was a Union town, I think. And when Morgan came, he came to Lebanon, I believe, 4 times. 2 of those times he used Myrtledene as his headquarters, and one of the times he famously burned a lot of the homes of prominent Unionists. But it was at Myrtledene where there was this pole, this is how the story goes. They took a pole that they used to clean the tall ceilings and put a white flag on it, and it was from Myrtledene that they waved the white flag of truce to save the town from total destruction.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
Now, the horse going up the stairs, now, is there any validity in that story?
I believe so.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Now, the front stairs have got a carpet runner that is, it's one of those old wool carpets. It's been there much longer than I've been around. It's been there at least 50, 60 years. My cousin who owns the house and my mother, they both remember when there was no carpet there, and you could see the hoof prints. It definitely left impressions in the soft wood there. And I have read that Morgan did that in other homes as well. Okay. I guess that was his way of making his mark in a way. Yeah. He was just
marking his territory.
Just that kind of guy, you know. When you have him over to a party and never invite him back.
Yeah.
So yes, and I had some. There's a rumor out that the hoof prints were sanded off at some point before. Right. I don't believe that is so, and I'll tell you why. I had some guests who stayed. I've been at Myrtledene this will be my 24th year running Myrtledene. I had some guests who stayed early on. They had been there. They had come back 3 or 4 times, and before I was running it, they stayed there. And my cousin's daughter was the manager, and one of the carpet runner had come a little loose, or maybe they made it come loose, I don't know. But she showed them the hoof prints, and they said, we saw them. They were on, they said, we pulled up like the 5th and 6th step, and she said you could very clearly see them. And like I said, my mother and my cousin both remember growing up, said you could definitely see them. Okay. So, and the fact that he's done it in other homes leads me to think that,
he was just that kind of guy.
He was just that kind of guy, that's right.
I know now Myrtledene is a beautiful home, and I know it's now being used as a bed and breakfast.
We are a bed and breakfast. It's available for overnight lodging, but we also have events there. We do wedding ceremonies, and one little bit of business that we do that's really grown in the last few years is people are renting the house to get ready for their weddings, take their pictures at the house. We have a lot of indoor and outdoor places that are nice for
beautiful
for
trees.
A group. Yeah, I got big trees. That's right. And so a lot of people are using it for that. We're close to everything in town, and so you can, I've had them come. The bridal party show up with their person to do their hair, their nails, their makeup, and they'll come early. They'll get all ready, and they'll take pictures, and it's kind of nice. When, say, the groomsmen are taking pictures, then the maids of honor can relax in the living room, and vice versa. So makes a good spot for that.
Yes, it does. And I've been to Myrtledene before too, looking for ghosts, trying to see if there are any ghosts on the property there. And Myrtledene is an interesting place because it has got a little bit of everything. And of course, we found ghosts.
Why not? Why not?
Ah, gosh.
That's right.
We had Confederate soldiers and all that through here during that time. So there must have been some unclaimed souls out there somewhere, huh?
Could very well have been. Yeah.
Well, I know that now you're in the midst of renovation.
We're doing a little bit. There's always something going on. It's not a major renovation, but there's always something going on. Right now we're doing some tuck pointing, and every few years there's painting, and we're having the floor in the dining room redone. There's always something going on.
Yeah, always something. When you have an older home like that, that's the upkeep.
There's always some kind of maintenance. That's right. And you got to keep it nice for if it's going to be a public space, and it's different for if we were just living there.
So the history with the Confederate history with Myrtledene runs right along with the history of the town and everything that went on during that time. Are there any other facts that you can give us that we might not know?
What a great question. Some other facts that you don't know. Well, let's see. It was not only the home of a state representative, but it was home of a Lebanon mayor after World War II. My great uncle Don Campbell lived there, and I would say he's probably responsible as much as anybody for the house being in as good a shape as it's in now. He took very, very, very good care, and it was his wife's home that she was raised in. And when they married, he moved in. They had the bedroom right next to his mother-in-law, and they're very close.
Very quiet event, huh?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's a house that a lot of people. I'll have people tell me, "Oh, I've never been in that house," and I'll say, "Well, give me a call sometime," and and if it works, if we can figure out a time, I'd love to take you through it. It's a special place to me. I grew up right down the street, and I used to go up and visit my uncle a lot. And the house doesn't look a whole lot different from even just like the furnishing. It's stuff that's just accumulated over, I guess, 3 or more generations.
Well, that's part of its charm.
It's kind of neat, yeah.
The older furniture and the antiques and all that
Right.
go on. So
Right.
if you ever get a chance to go over to Myrtledene, go take a good look and wave over to the side at the ghosts who are there living out in the front yard. I think it was a front yard, a side yard or something like that.
Whatever you say.
They were very
Whatever you say.
kind, very generous, They didn't try to scare us or anything like that.
That's right.
They were just there and looking for something to do,
I suppose so.
Anyway, it's a great place to go and have James tell you the history. And not only is it a beautiful Confederate home, it's a great place for some other outings as well. Well, thank you, James, for coming and talking to us today about Myrtledene and its Confederate history. This has been Yvonne McNary for Central Kentucky Television.